The trip was supposed to take 3 years. At least that's what Jason Lewis thought when he set out to make the first great circumnavigation of the globe.
You know, the world had been circumnavigated already using hot air balloons and motorboats and by sail, of course, Magellan in the 1500s, but no one had done it using just the power of the human bodies.
Lewis survived everything from malaria to crocodile attacks to blood poisoning crossing the Pacific, mountain sickness on the top of the Himalayas, to being left for dead by a drunken hit-and-run driver in Pueblo. But his quest for the first began in England.
And if we'd had the funding up front, we probably could have knocked it out in 3 or 4 years. But it ended up taking 13 years.
For every hour spent traveling, there were 2 spent fundraising. Accidents along the way delayed the trip, but Lewis says he never gave up.
I felt like even though, you know, these upsets happen, you get run over, but it's important to kind of finish what you start.
When Lewis and an old college bud began their trip from Greenwich, England, they used no motors or sails, only the power of the human body.
Overland, I either walked, rode a bicycle, or across the states here, I inline skated. Across the wet bits, like the Pacific and the Atlantic, used a pedal-powered boat. I kayaked between the islands of Indonesia, for example, and some of the rivers in Southeast Asia I actually swam.
111 days to cross the Atlantic, 178 days to cross the Pacific, where he was trapped in the doldrums on the equator with no wind for several weeks. But most dangerous moments came when he was on top of the world.
At top of this one pass and having this real sense of no oxygen, and then I actually came down with altitude sickness over the other side, and I was in my tent thinking if this is going to get worse, then I could possibly die at the top of this mountain.
Lewis was suspected of spying in the Sudan, attacked by pirates, and left for dead in Pueblo, his new home, while trying to finish the last leg of a 47,000-mile trek.
When I was hit, I went up into the windshield. My backpack went through the windshield and saved my spine from being shattered.
The accident left him with 2 broken legs, making the trip longer by 9 months, needed for rehab. But once he healed, he continued on to San Francisco to claim 4 world records. Well, it took Jason some 13 years to make his trip around the globe. Now that adventure is over, is there a next expedition on the horizon?
If it was just about being the first, I would say probably not. 13 years is a long time to dedicate your life to anything.
But because of the educational component to the journey, he says the trip was well worth it. Programs developed for schools have led to an increased interest in geography for kids across the world. In Denver, Bowman, Fox 31 Denver.